Great morning, dear students. So today we are starting our next chapter of class 9th, that is tissues. So first of all, we have to know about what are tissues. Tissues are actually the group of cells, the combination of cells that combined together to perform a particular function. Or you can say when similar types of cell combine, they perform a particular function, and that is known as tissue. Okay, so tissue is actually the group of cells that work together to perform a particular functions, means they are doing a special function. You can see in this diagram that many cells combined here. It is a type of a meristematic tissue. So many cells of same type combine here and they form the tissue. Now there is division of labor and cell specializing. What is the meaning of this? As you know that in simple organisms all body functions are done by single cell itself, like amoeba. As you know, amoeba is a unicellular organism, so all the functions in amoeba are done by only the single cell. But in complex organisms, different groups of cells perform different functions. Okay, so as different groups of cells or tissues are specialized in doing different job, any work is done much more efficiently compared to unicellular organisms. That means in our body, or in case of multicellular organisms, we have different organs for the different functions. For example, we have digestive system for digestion, we have heart for circulatory system, or so many more. But in case of unicellular organisms, all the functions are performed by single cell, so there is no division of labor. But in multicellular organism there is division of labor, cell specializing is there, means every function is performed by a specific organ. Fine. So tissues are mainly classified into two types, means the tissue that is present in plant is known as plant tissues, and the tissues which are found in animals are known as animal tissues. So let's come to the plant tissues. Plant tissues are further divided into two types, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So meristematic tissues, these tissues divide throughout the life, means these can divide throughout the life. They didn't stop dividing. But the permanent tissue, they lost the ability to divide, means once they become permanent, after that they are not able to divide. Well, actually meristematic tissues converts into permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue are of three types: apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem, that we will do it later on. And permanent tissue are of further two types, simple and complex tissue. Simple tissue are of three types, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and complex tissue are of two types, xylem and phloem. So we will take one by one in detail. Now comes to meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are actually responsible for growth in plants. Cells in these tissues can divide and form new cells. As I told you that the cells of meristematic tissues are continuously dividing. So if they are continuously dividing, they are responsible for the growth in plants. Now what are the properties of cells of meristems? Actually the cells of meristematic tissues are very active and work faster. They are very active cell, and they do not have a vacuole. Do not have vacuole means because they have to divide continuously, so they don't need vacuoles for that. Fine. So now types of meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue, as I told you, is of three types: apical meristematic tissue, then apical, lateral, and intercalary. First we take apical meristem. Apical means apex. Apical means apex. You can see apex. Apex means it is present at the apex, present at the tip of stem and roots. You can see here shoot apical meristem, and it is root apical meristem, means it is present at the tip of stem and roots, and it is responsible for growth in length. As you can see, it is present here, means at the shoot apex and the root apex. So if they are continuously dividing, it is responsible for the growth in length of plant. Okay, So growth in length is also known as primary growth. Growth in length is also known as primary growth. You can see in this diagram also, apical meristem cause primary growth, means lengthening of plant occurs at the tips of fruits and shoots and produces new leaves and flowers. This is about apical meristem. Next one is lateral meristem. Lateral means on the sides. It is present beneath the bark. Here it is present beneath bark. So it is responsible for growth in girth of trunk, means it helps to increase the breadth, girth. It causes secondary growth in plants. This type of growth is called as secondary growth. Secondary growth means increase in the girth of plant. Fine. Now next one is the intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem, it is present in the nodes of leaves and stem. Nodes of leaves and stem, and it also causes increase in the length of leaves and internodes. So that's why intercalary meristem also helps in the primary growth of the plant. You can see intercalary meristem, it is present here. Fine. Now next one is the permanent tissue. Actually, cells of meristematic tissues, as I told you, cells of meristematic tissues are continuously dividing. So they can change shape and size to get specialized in performing other functions in plant body. Okay, means the cells, when the cells of meristematic tissue, when they become specialized, then convert into permanent tissue. And this process is known as differentiation. This process is known as differentiation. Cells of meristematic tissue differentiate to form different type of permanent tissues. Means we have to do different type of permanent tissues. So permanent tissues are of further two types, simple tissues and complex tissues. What is the difference between these two tissues? So simple tissues, actually it is composed of the same type of cells. You can see in this diagram, this is simple tissue. All the cells are of same type. But in complex tissue, group of different type of cells performing common task together. You can see in this diagram, this is complex tissue. In this, there are various types of cells, means different types of cells are present, but they are performing a common task together. That's why we are calling them as a tissue. So permanent tissues are of two types, simple tissues and complex tissue. Next one, we will do the difference between simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. So as I told you, simple permanent tissue is a group of cells with similar origin, structure and functions. Complex permanent tissue is a group of cells with several type of cells, means different type of cells are there that have same origin but diverse functions. Simple permanent tissue is found in every part of the plant, but complex is found only in the vascular region of the plant. These are composed of only one type of cells, simple permanent, whereas complex permanent are made up of several types of cells. Simple permanent tissue, all cells perform the same function, but in complex permanent tissue, different type of cells perform different targets, means different functions. In simple permanent tissue, photosynthesis, food storage, tissue repair and secretion, these are the major functions. But in complex permanent tissue, structural support, conduction of water and minerals and protection from hydration, these are the major functions. Simple permanent tissues are of further three types, collenchyma, parenchyma and sclerenchyma, but complex permanent tissue are of two types. These are xylem and phloem. In the next part, we will study about the simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue in detail. Thank you, students.